Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. It's the Sunday version, the AFU preview show. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me there is Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Now that you've been inducted into the know-it-all university, if you will, we are going to get this thing kicked off for our second episode of Sunday Morning Kickoff for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, let's first just recap a little bit on Thursday nights. Buffalo gets started pretty quick here with them against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of turnovers by the Bucs, but then the Bills again keeping them the Bucs still in it. You know what I mean? And some mistakes here and there. A couple of muff returns, and there you go. They're back in it, and Buffalo still looked pretty good, but again, they can't be making mistakes like that when it comes to like tougher teams as they're going to be facing the next couple of weeks here.
I mean, mistakes are made every single week. I mean, it's all about limiting them. So for the Buffalo Bills going forward, what I'd like to say is that you saw some more positives with the Buffalo Bills in that game, regardless of the mistakes or not. The positives were that the offense started to look like the offense last season. Josh Allen started to show some elements of his game that we saw last season, and now we're seeing it finally this season. So for the Bills going forward, you got some things to work on still, obviously, but you gotta like that you've seen defensively they need to work some kinks out, but offensively you like to see that they're starting to get back on track mid-season.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So they got a rough road to go forward, but at least they pull out a win here, and hopefully they can right the ship. All right, our question with the trade deadline looming right now, our question of the day for you guys out there is, what do you see happening at the trade deadline? Any surprise trades? What do you guys think? Let us know your predictions, your hot takes out there in the comment section. So Joe, let's get right to it. The Rams are facing the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are at home this week. What's the key here for the Rams to face against this Dallas defense, and what does the Dallas Cowboys really have to do to pull out a victory here to stick with the Eagles here in this division?
So the Rams, I mean, it's real simple. Offensively, stop Micah Parsons. You have to double team him every play. You have to account for his whereabouts every single play. We've seen that other teams have had great success when they do that, when they're able to double team him, keep him out of the game as much as possible, and limit his impact. You do that offensively, you're going to be just fine, because it seems like everybody else on that D-line is not helping him out. DeMarcus Lawrence is absent. Don't know where he is with his, mega contract that he's getting. Where is he? He's not showing up. So that's for the Rams offensively. Defensively, against Dak Prescott in this like pass happy type of offense that Mike McCarthy has, basically just keep making them one dimensional. Like, do not allow Tony Pollard to be a factor. Force Dak to throw the ball, make him one dimensional, and then capitalize on the passing attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Surprisingly enough, to me, at least with this Rams team, I thought they were going to take a step back this year a little bit here, which they have, I guess, a little bit. But with what they have here, and even despite some injuries and Cooper Kupp coming back here mid-season, they've really stuck in the games. And right now they've got the 6th-ranked offense, but now they're going against the 2nd-ranked defense. So this is going to be tough, here to face the Dallas Cowboys here at home. But again, Matthew Stafford's got to keep the turnovers down, and he's seen to show that he can make it work too with less. Absolutely. So, but either way, Dallas here for me, I think they just got the upper hand playing at home. And when they say defense usually trumps the even best offenses, I'm going to go with the defensive side here in the Cowboys on this one. All right, next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers here. This one's always a tough matchup here. divisional matchup, and the Packers have had the Minnesota Vikings number, a lot this past couple of years here, but now everybody knows their vulnerability, especially now that Jordan Love's really making a lot of rookie type of mistakes. Last week, even I think went for a quarterback sneak and kind of fell over the line before he even snapped the ball, things like that. So he's having his little ups and downs now too, after starting out kind of on fire and kind of surprising people. But Minnesota now, they're kind of geared up. Now what they need to do also is chain some wins together, because this division now is tightened up since the Packers have kind of fallen down a little bit.
I mean, the Packers, like, everybody goes back to the first game when the Packers came out and Jordan Love looked like a reincarnation of a starting quarterback for Green Bay once again. And it had a lot of success. So everybody kind of was high on the first game, but then we've seen them come drastically down back to earth. And Jordan Love being really challenged every single week after that, to the point where, like, you're seeing mistakes, you're seeing rookie mistakes, like you mentioned. You're also seeing miscues on the offense and poor execution. So for the Green Bay Packers, basically they just have to get Jordan Love back to just manage the game. Do not try to do too much. Take what's there. And I know it sounds real simple, but for some reason they struggle with it time and time again. So Packers got to get back on track that way, and not try to do too much. And don't try to be too creative in the offensive realm for them. Defensively, the Green Bay Packers have been doing a fairly decent job on defense. It might not show up on the stats, but they've been the one, spotlight, I guess, for Green Bay that they've been able to, like, hang their hat on, is that they're not terrible on defense. They're able to stay in games a little bit longer than they should have. And then for Minnesota, I mean, this is the time to turn it up a notch. We've seen them last game when they played the Niners. We thought, and I would assume that the nation thought, that the 49ers were going to win that game easy. Like, what could you argue? Minnesota didn't have Justin Jefferson anymore, and you had to wonder, as a Viking fan going into that game, well, what do we do offensively? What do we do? Our running game has been lacking. We don't have Jefferson anymore. They had to count on somebody, and Kirk Cousins ended up choosing the rookie, Jordan Addison. And here is Jordan Addison emerging as a rookie, as a young player that had a lot of naysayers out of the draft, and is making something of himself in the NFL. So Kirk Cousins has complete confidence in Jordan Addison, and it showed in that game. And now you look at Minnesota and they're like, well, they can win without Jefferson, which is crazy, but they're also able to play great defense when needed to. So they've been able to get it on track defensively, and they got better as the season went. And then offensively, you're seeing them being able to make adjustments no matter who they have on the field. So Minnesota is trending upwards, I would say, right now at the midpoint of the season, and they need to handle business now to a team that they are expected to beat right now. They should beat Green Bay. So I like Minnesota this week.
Yeah, I hear it too as well. Like you said, even they were looking forward without having their normal running back here and moving forward, and you saw them struggle a little bit, and still they haven't even been able to completely run the ball like you probably wanted them and stay, balanced. But despite that, like you said, the offensive weapons have kind of came alive, because Hawkinson, he had a lot of drops, especially early on in the season, and to see the young rookie Addison after, Justin Jefferson going down is a big factor, because those first couple of weeks, I know I said it to you, expressed it during our show and stuff like that. When I'm watching Justin Jefferson and the rest of them, it seemed like if they didn't have Justin, they were done. Like, it seemed like he was the only one able to do anything at this point. So it's good that they're actually starting to get the ball spread around, and other guys are stepping up to get this offense going here. And like you said, defensively, those guys are really playing hard too as well. Danielle Hunter too as well, a big sack guy for them, really stepping up after issues with him, being tagged and wanting a new deal and all this stuff. Really playing tough and gelling together, I think, as a team. And I think the fact that they've preached that they're not tanking out, they're not giving up, after, a slow start. People are already talking about trading Kirk Cousins away and things like that to the Jets.
I don't know where that came from.
And that's definitely out of the picture now. And we already kind of saw that wasn't even going to happen in the first place because too much stuff did not make sense in that scenario. But so here they go against the Green Bay Packers. Again, last time they played, Packers beat them 41-23 in January 1st. Again, totally different teams, different matchup. I like the Minnesota Vikings in this one, and Kirk Cousins going at a vulnerable Green Bay Packers team. Next, we got the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans. This one's tough just because the fact that Ryan Tannehill's down. I think if Ryan Tannehill's in the game, I think that changes everything. For the Tennessee Titans. You know what I mean? Yeah. He knows how to run this offense. You trust him to throw the ball, and you're always going to have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's going to do his thing or whatever. Right now, that's pretty much your only weapon as it is. You're not sure what's going to go on if the ball's going to be able to get into DeAndre Hopkins' hands and things like that. You don't have Treylon Burks. You don't have their other secondary or third string wide receiver on this as well. So basically, you got to key up on Derrick Henry if you're the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, the thing for me is, again, you're like gambling every time. You're not sure. The turnovers by Ritter, and trying to get certain guys involved in the passing game. Pitts, we finally saw, was able to get a little bit something here and make a breakout play, for them to help win the game here. So Atlanta's that up and down kind of team. They're tough to gauge, but now you get to see, a former coach they used to coach on Vrabel's staff and Arthur Smith together face off each other. It's going to be tough because I know Vrabel is going to know what to do to game plan against this here. But Atlanta's got a good, tough squad too, as well.
I'll say this, rightfully so for Desmond Ridder to take a lot of criticism early on this season. He was struggling. He's making big mistakes, but then there's something that's changed in that offense with Arthur Smith. Last week, I noticed a quarterback that didn't really give up. I noticed a quarterback that didn't make a lot of mistakes down the stretch and was able to get Atlanta back up and running offensively and win a game. So that plays a huge part in creating that chemistry that every team looks for in their quarterback with their weapons. So for Ridder, yes, he's still growing, still developing, still definitely has to get much better than what he is now. But at least we saw a glimpse from Ridder that he is getting a little bit better for Atlanta. Defensively for Atlanta, they are a very, very solid team. They play against some pretty good competition, and they're able to hold their ground for the most part. Atlanta, if they can just kind of get this offense a little bit more opened up, a little bit more creative, because we've seen Arthur Smith be creative before with tight ends, but it seems like for some reason there's a little bit of stagnant play calling all of a sudden. The tight ends aren't involved as much as they used to be. We saw Bijan Robinson. Apparently there was some kind of mystery illness he had, and that's why he didn't end up playing most of the game. And then even when you remove him, you had guys like, Drake London, who's like obviously your ultimate go-to guy, but like they didn't go to him really until towards the end of the game. And it's like, you got to start, picking your what you want to attack. Like what you got to get the running game involved. You got to get every different receiver you have involved. Keep it honest. So that way defenses can't just key on one guy or the other. So for Atlanta going forward, for Desmond Ridder going forward, they need to just spread the ball around a lot more. They need to get the ball out of his hands and continue to do that quicker to kind of keep this offense on the field and maybe sustain some drives for scoring. On the other side of it, Tennessee, like I said, or like you said, Ryan Tannehill, if he was playing in this game, I probably would have picked Tennessee in this one, to be completely honest. I like Titans defense, even though they traded Kevin Byard away this past week, a couple days ago, and now he's with Philly. Even that happening, I still like their defense. I still like what they're able to do on defense. And offensively, Jim brought up the receivers. What receivers? Like you have DeAndre Hopkins, but you don't have really any answers after that. And now, guess what? You got a rookie quarterback and Will Levis starting, who hasn't been your guy. He hasn't been out there starting because obviously you had Tannehill. But now you're throwing him to the wolves, and give him first team reps all week long and all the practice that you want. But I don't think it's going to prepare him for this matchup. I don't think it's going to prepare him for future success. This guy is going to come in here. I feel like he's going to struggle mightily because if there's any indicator on what we saw in preseason from him, it's that he struggled in preseason. Now it's real. Now it's for real. Now we're live. It's regular season. So I think that's going to continue. He's going to have some turnovers, and for Tennessee, I think they're going to continue to struggle defensively because honestly, what do you have to worry about? You just got to worry about Derrick Henry. That's it. If you can stop him, you got yourself a chance to win this game. I got Atlanta in this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Atlanta, I think I've got the upper hand. I think even sports betting, they're close. It's a close one, 56% to 44. So a lot of people even on the ropes too. Again, a lot of questions here, but this is a win that Atlanta, I think, really needs here to show what they're kind of made of in this toughness here against this team. Because let me tell you, even the defense is going to play this team tough. So it's going to be a tough matchup. Next, we got the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers here, Joe. I think early on, if you looked at this matchup here for me, I would have been like, oh man, this is going to just be a stinker altogether. These teams are going to be terrible. Not sure what to expect out of, rookie quarterbacks, they're growing, but Houston up this season here to where they look like even a little bit of a force to kind of be reckoned with, one of those sleeper teams. And now you're facing in here a Carolina team that, again, really has looked actually worse even than when I thought, because I thought they would at least be semi-competitive. At times they look like they're just inept and not getting it done. So Houston going into the Carolina Panthers here looking like a pretty good safe bet on this one, and turning this ship around like pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and this is the thing is like everybody had that debate out of the draft, like what quarterback is going to be best. A lot of people, tabbed Bryce Young to be the best quarterback taken out of the draft. Some people argued the fact that, CJ was going to be the guy, and CJ Stroud. And now you look at it, I know hindsight's 2020, but before the draft, we at Football on the Know had CJ Stroud as our number one quarterback coming out and didn't budge once from it. And looks like we're right again. So CJ Stroud taking over the league as a rookie, which, to be honest, is not only just impressive, but it's commendable on the kid's part. Stroud is able to come in. He's making the right decisions. He's executing plays. He's not holding on to the football. He's doing a lot of things right that a rookie is intended to do. So Stroud is lighting up the league right now. I mean, as a rookie, which is amazing. And that right there is the reason why Houston does not have a problem and they're able to succeed already. We know that they're not ready to take that big leap to maybe compete for the division or go to the playoffs. However, they're on the right track because they got the pick right with their quarterback. And you can see right now what it's doing offensively is allowing them to score points, to stay with other teams. And that works hand in hand with their defense. Their defense is very young. They managed to bring in some free agents and drafted extremely well to the point where their defense is a factor even. So when you got both of those situations working for you as a very young team, the future is really bright going forward. So Houston's on the uptick right now. They are looking very good, and they're going to be competitive no matter who they play. So we've seen them play the Saints tough. We've seen them play other teams that are very good football teams, and they've been able to hang in there with them. So for the Texans, I got them winning this game. And then for Carolina, on the other hand, Bryce Young, we worried about him coming into the NFL as one of those quarterbacks that was very lightweight, very short. A lot of question marks around that. Not really, X's and O's wise or his throwing ability, but man, he's been getting hit an awful lot. He's been laying on the ground a lot, really feeling the NFL's hits for sure. So you got to wonder his longevity. Like, how long can this kid last if he continues to take punishment week in and week out? And what's that going to do for his development? Carolina, because of all that, offensively has been struggling to score points. And defensively, as young as they are, as good as they have been in recent years, they're struggling too because they're always on the football field. So I expect the same for this game.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. And I think for me too, I think a surprise thing or something I wasn't sure about is seeing Nico Collins here as a number one, looking really nice here for this team. And I think it did really well. We've got Nathaniel McWhirter is in the house with us tonight. He says, or today, because it's not, it's Sunday morning. It's not Wednesday night, but he says he has 2 upsets in with us today and says hello to everybody out there. So let's hear it, Nathaniel. Let's see what the upsets are. Here he goes. He has them right here. And it is the Panthers and Chicago Bears win today. So how about that? We were just talking about the Texans game and the Panthers, and he thinks the Panthers could upset. And I don't know. I mean, if you look at these teams too, we said, the Texans have looked pretty good, but the Panthers not so much, but I expected them towards the bottom of the field. Panthers could be a bit of an upset, I guess, here today, but the Bears, I think, would be, I guess, maybe a more unlikely, like type of upset here, because again, we saw what happened when Justin Fields went down, and you've got, your backup coming in, only a D2 schooled quarterback pulling out the victory, the big victory. But you never know sometimes with the Chargers here too as well, what team you're going to get sometimes, what I'm saying? It's almost like the box of chocolates with Forrest Gump. You're just not sure, but anyways, yeah, I think I like the Texans here in this one too as well. Let's move on to the New Orleans Saints and the Indianapolis Colts, Joe. This game, I think, is even on the betting stand is like another 56-44 type of deal, to where it's a lot closer where fans are unsure just because one, that offense has just been looking up and down. Like a lot of guys not on the same page. Even though you've got Alvin Kamara back, you figured you should be able to even run the ship with him, get him involved in the running game and the passing game. But it seems like the receivers and Derek Carr are just not on the same page here. So I think that's what makes this one a bit closer and not sure in some people's minds here. And the Colts, even at times, even with Gardner Minshew, people believe in the Minshew magic even right now, and what he can do with this team. And that defense even been playing tougher too as well, more than I expected. So what do you think about this one in this matchup here in Lucas Oil Stadium, which I think they played tough too as well with the New Orleans Saints?
This is what I'll say is, like, the Saints offense has been an absolute mess. And there's been a lot of finger pointing lately, so far mid-season. With New Orleans is Derek Carr. Some people are saying, oh, well, Derek Carr, maybe he's not the quarterback for us. And other people are saying, well, this offensive line, if he could get protection, then maybe we could actually have some offensive plays at work. And then other people are pointing the finger at the offensive coordinator himself and Pete Carmichael. I mean, say what you want, but when you watch some of these Saints games, if you really look at it, there's a lot of miscommunication going on all levels, whether it be maybe the play calls are not that great at certain situations. That falls. Some blame does have to go to the offensive coordinator for not making the necessary adjustments or calling the right plays at certain times. But also, you look at some of these receivers for the Saints. We all know Chris Olave very well. He splashed on the scene last year as a rookie and is making a tremendous name for himself. But other than that, I mean, you look at Michael Thomas returning the first time in a couple years as a Saint wide receiver, and it's like you start to look around the offense, you're like, there's not a whole lot of weaknesses. What is the real issue here? It's miscommunication. It's receivers not fully running their routes. Chris Olave is definitely the one that you could point the finger on there, because I've watched him where there was a seam route called for him to just flat out burn the guy, and Derek Carr would throw the ball early and he stopped running because he didn't think the football was coming to him. So there's little miscues there and miscommunications that are happening week in and week out for the Saints. And you can also look at the relationship between Carr and this offensive coordinator and Pete Carmichael. It's not as streamlined as we thought it was going to be. There's been definite calls where Carr's confused why he's even running this play. He's tried to change plays, and just nobody's on the same page in New Orleans, and that's really the big problem. So for the Saints going forward, they got to keep ironing out the wrinkles and try to get something to work, because if this team does in fact come together, it is going to be one of the dangerous offenses in the league. But until that happens, they're going to continue to struggle offensively. Defensively, they got one hell of a defense. We already know that, and they show up every single week. That's why the Saints are still in the conversation for the playoffs. And for the Colts, you mentioned it, Jimmy. Gardner Minshew, he's up and down every week. I don't know what I'm getting. I thought early on that Minshew should have started over the rookie, first of all, because you have that veteran presence. But also, I thought he would give them some stability on offense and not make a lot of mistakes. But one week we've seen him throw like 3-4 interceptions, and then the next week he ends up upsetting a team and doesn't commit any mistakes. So I don't know what to get from Gardner, but for the Colts going forward, it's going to be on him. It's just like when we talk about Atlanta and Desmond Ridder. It's on the quarterback at this point. If he plays well, expect them to be at least competitive and maybe pull off the wins. If he struggles at all, it's going to lead to a loss. So for the Colts, I would say because they're so up and down. The Saints are right there too. I got to go with the Saints as the favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear you there. I mean, it's tough here, but I'm going to go with the Saints too as well. It's all what he does, again, under pressure, see if they can get it done here. And same thing with Gardner Minshew too as well. Which guy are you going to see? You going to see the magical Minshew, or are you going to see the guy who makes the mistakes and the fumbles? Nathaniel says that he's got the Saints in that one, but he also added Dennis Allen to one of the fourth people here on the list for guys maybe being responsible for it. I'd say that halfway, because he is the one that calls the defensive plays too as well. And I think defensively they've been doing fairly well. If you look at that game even last week, they were on the difference between domination and then just leaving the other team in it and just coming up short. You know what I mean? If they are on the same page, Olave doesn't cut short on the route. I mean, he's bombing it all day to some of these guys. You know what I mean?
It's a touchdown.
It's a touchdown. A whole different dynamic. So you just fix those mistakes. And like you said, it could be an offensive powerhouse. And then you got that defense on the side. And they don't have to worry so much about keeping the team back in it.
Let's be honest. I have to say that they've mightily, it's not even a little bit, they've mightily struggled on offensive protection for Carr. So they have to figure something out. And it doesn't matter if you have to put in 2 tight ends to block to help with the blocking. You have to do that. Yes, you're limiting your receivers being out there, how many you can have, but you got to make the right adjustments to get this team back on track. And if they don't do that, if they don't add a tight end out there to help out the struggling left tackle, if they don't do something, make some of these changes and just say, oh, well, week to week, we'll try to change some things around and we'll see if that works and if this doesn't work. No, you need protection. Whether you're running the ball with Alvin Kamara, throwing the ball to him or throwing it to the receiver, you need protection, bottom line. So Saints have to figure out how they can best protect Derek Carr in the Saints.
All right. Nathaniel's letting us know his other picks. He's got the Rams and he's got the Vikings today too as well. Let's move on now to the Patriots and the Dolphins here again in Miami. And we talked about this on our show and the fact that the Patriots don't do well when they have to visit Miami at home here. It's just a whole different atmosphere. I don't know if it's even the weather, not sure. Just not sure anytime. But now, and that was even before the team has been kind of the powerhouse offensively that they are right now. And right now the Patriots look very vulnerable. I mean, last week they were able to kind of get it together, but are they turning it around, or is it just happened to be just at the right spot at the right time here for the Patriots? Because they don't look like they're themselves here, and they looked like a team, especially offensively, that was not working on the same page to where Mac Jones was just stuck there, can't get it to anybody, and taking a lot of hits, sitting in the pocket way too much.
I'll say this. The one thing that we saw from New England that we haven't seen all year long last week is that they did what we said they should do from the beginning, Jim. Like we kept saying, like, listen, where's the running game for the Patriots? I know some people were believing when Tom Brady was there, it's like, man, they throw a lot. Really, they ran a lot more than they threw. And that was missing this year. You know what I mean? That's where you saw the real struggle on offense this season, is that it seemed like they're trying to throw the ball. They're trying to do little screen plays. They're trying to do too much. Get back to running the football, and that's going to open the rest of your offense. And that's what happened last week for the Patriots. They finally started running the football, being able to run the football. and it opened up everything. Throws to the tight end, throws to the wide receiver, screens to the running back. Everything worked much better. So for the first time this year, we saw a very competent New England offense and a defense that can feed off the energy from the offense and do what they do best, play defense. So that's what the Patriots have going for them right now. If they can continue that into this week, it'll make this game way more competitive. But also, when you look at Miami, this is like one of the hottest offenses in the league. They're one of the toughest teams to try to stop. They got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and those are their go-tos. But they also have some younger talent that's starting to pop up. So Cedric Wilson for the first time last week as a Dolphin and was able to make some big-time plays for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Devon Achane, he's still injured, still going to be out 2 to 3 more weeks. But, man, when that rookie comes back, he's been lighting the league on fire. He's been almost like having Madden stats, really, 200-yard games and just absolute insanity. So this offense, as high-powered as it is, and as difficult it is, this is going to be a true challenge for the Patriots defense to try to slow them down. Being in Miami, we know usually, historically, the Dolphins have New England's number. And then the Dolphins get back another big asset defensively. Jalen Ramsey has been cleared. He's going to play today. That's a big deal. Xavier Howard, I think he's still out. So, but all in all, that defense can still play. They still got players. They got players up front. They create a lot of pressure with their D-line, and their secondary, as it's slowly getting healthier, is looking more and more intimidating. So I am going to go with Miami historically and just straight up. I mean, I think their offense is going to be so hard to stop, and defensively, they're going to make some big-time plays. I got Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree with you too as well, and so does Nathaniel too. Yeah, I think it's right now is the time for Miami here, especially in this division. The way people are looking, and they were tough last week against the Eagles team that was still fairly healthy, and the Dolphins were missing a lot of key points, especially on their defense, like you said. They all come back, and that only looks good for them moving forward, especially to make a playoff run. All right, next we've got Let's go with the Jets and the Giants game, Joe. What do you think about the Jets and the Giants facing off against each other? And it's funny because following the Giants, and their Instagram, stuff like that, they're remembering the old days. Like, hey, last time it was Jets and Giants. Remember Victor Cruz went 99 yards for this touchdown and they won and all this. And yeah, that's nice and stuff. But the Jets, they're a totally different team on defense right now. And offensively, I say that's where they're struggling a little bit, but found ways to win still, and the defense does help, but the offense has been able to do just enough to get some stuff done. But luckily for them, they're facing a Giants team who, at least last week, the defense hasn't been the most terrible thing about this team. I've noticed that they've blitzed a lot less this season, but last week really turned it back on and got it going and was really a key part of their game here. And they were able to move the ball offensively a little bit last, especially with having Saquon Barkley back and Tyrod Taylor there involved in the game. Big key for Daniel Jones and the team, though, moving forward here, as I'm more about the neck issue, and it's affecting his left arm and the weakness in his left arm. That could be a pivotal moment here for this team to where he might have to evaluate himself throughout the season and figure if he's even going to come back to play again. You know what I mean? Because that's some dangerous stuff when you're talking about losing strength and feeling due to another continuous neck injury. But facing the Jets in this one, none of the teams are a home team in this one, but I'm guessing there's going to be more Jets fans in the crowd. And the Jets defense is too much to handle against this offense here. I like the Jets in this one at home.
I definitely expect it to be like a 50-50 split in terms of fans, because both fans are very prideful with their teams. And this is kind of like a local rivalry. We've heard of Battle of Gettysburg. This is the Battle of Jersey. That's what this is. You got the Giants and Jets. I mean, local teams fighting for the right to call home. So I love the Jets. I love their defense. And that was their highlight coming in this season, a lot of people obviously were like, oh, Rodgers and this offense is going to be amazing. And then 4 plays in, no more Aaron Rodgers. So we didn't know what to expect with a Zach Wilson coming back into the starting lineup. What could he do? Could he even do anything? Is he going to make the mistakes that he normally makes? Or is there a possibility where the Jets offensively can do just enough, and the defense obviously will win the games for them, but do just enough to where they can get a couple more wins than they thought and stay in the race? We're seeing that right now. They're a 500 team right now. They are still competing. Zach Wilson, yes, he's made a couple mistakes here and there, but they're not catastrophic that's causing them to lose. So they're able to have won a couple of games with Zach Wilson as a starter. He's been able to grow and mature like they were hoping he would behind under the wing of Aaron Rodgers. And he's got nothing but complete support with Rodgers. Rodgers is helping him out, and it's showing on the football field. And that's the difference. You needed to see him take a step forward. You needed him not to try to be just the guy. He just has to do what's necessary and execute the plays that are given. That's it. So as long as he can continue to do that, the Jets offense will continue to get better. For the Giants, that's a little bit different a story. This is a team that we were very high on coming into the season, where we thought they added more weapons, they added a better offensive line, upgraded and everything in every aspect, and this team's going to just come out like gangbusters in this division. And we're not seeing that. Giants fans have to be greatly disappointed with the performance on the football field and where they at currently record-wise. This is a team that Daniel Jones gets hurt, obviously. And coming into the season, a lot were like, well, maybe we'll see what Daniel Jones can do with these other receivers, and we're not seeing any kind of real success there. So the Giants are struggling a little bit offensively. Saquon Barkley is there, yes, but this is a team that not only can't pass protect or create running lanes because they have nobody. They got basically backups yet again playing offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be able to be that competitive in this game because they just don't have the necessary personnel straight up. They need to be able to have all of their starting offensive linemen back to get back to where they need to be. But so far, they've been struggling offensively. Defensively is just trying to play catch up at this point because of the lack of scoring from the Giants. This is going to be a very big uphill battle for the Giants, but I have to go Jets in this one. Just because of the flat-out great defense that they have. And I think Zach Wilson does just enough and put enough points on the board to where Giants are going to have a hard time coming back.
All right, we've got our man Mike Tackett in the house with us today. He goes, happy game day. Whose absence affects their team more today? Ryan Tannehill or Daniel Jones? I think that's an easy one for me. I think we talked about it earlier. Ryan Tannehill. Big factor. If he's in there, not Will Levis, I think the Tennessee Titans will take that game. And instead, I'm picking Atlanta. Daniel Jones, again, a lot of people think that the Giants here are moving the ball a lot better here with Tyrod Taylor. I say at times, again, the offense still struggling, but I think some of the different changes, managerial, and with some of the weapons coming back from injury has definitely helped out. For the offense. And Tyrod Taylor, veteran, trying to limit the mistakes, trying to make some plays, but then also not afraid to go deep if he has to, because he's in the backup. What does he have to lose at this point? Not so afraid to try and pinpoint and get it right in the same right exact spot and worry about that, that turnover.
Well, I mean, for Tyrod Taylor, I mean, when you talk about him being able to pinpoint a throw or something, that you, as a quarterback, you got to do that regardless, wherever you're playing, backup, starter, whatever. For Tyrod Taylor, I think the difference is, and I won't say it's he's that much better in terms of execution. He's that much better in terms of throwing. What I will say he's different is like he is a different style quarterback, where I feel like because of his veteran leadership and his experience, he kind of gives the offense a little bit of spark for some of the guys that have been there, to where they have confidence in him. They know what to expect from him. So for Tyrod, it's not necessarily he's just a overall better quarterback than Daniel Jones. They're quite similar, but at the same time, it's like because of all the veteran experience that he's gained, he's like, I shouldn't have to try so hard to make something happen. I just got to give the ball to the other guys. I just have to distribute the ball quickly as possible and let them do it. And that's the kind of mentality he has. And that's why you tend to see the Giants offense at times look better, but then there's other times when you could say, it's the same thing. So that's really the big difference for me with Tyrod Taylor. Yes and no, he may be good, maybe bad, but he's right there. But as far as like Tannehill, without a doubt, has to be the biggest loss. He's been the starter for quite some time there in Tennessee, and he's the guy that that they actually can score points with that offense with Tannehill in there. And now you're going to throw in a rookie who doesn't have experience, a guy that doesn't know the ins and outs of his position. And I think that's going to lead to a big time problem.
All right. Mike Tackett also says, are you guys a Sunday ticket type of viewer, free local games or red zone? Personally, red zone is the only way I'll watch. Hard to invest 3 hours plus on one game, especially with commercials and bad play. What do you think, Joe?
I mean, I have the luxury to watch whatever I want. So I am not a Sunday ticket subscriber or anything like that, but I get the games for free no matter what. So I just watch whatever I want. I can watch Red Zone if I want. I can watch whatever. So I do. If it's a game I'm not interested in, like if there's not one of those like big time games, like this is the 1 o'clock game you should watch, like two big teams. If there's none of those where it's like an interesting game that I want to pay attention to, then I'll just watch Red Zone. I'll just watch game to game to game, the score to score and all that. But if it's a game that, man, like, every single week we pick them out and like, this has got to be close to the game of the week, or this is a game that I'm really interested in watching, then I might tune in just to that game.
Yeah, I hear you there. Once I got open the Red Zone, I think I like Red Zone, the fact that because they watch even a game for a little while and then switch to another one or whatever. It's not just even every scoring play. I mean, you're constantly watching some game film, and then scores on top of it and highlights. I like the way that goes. But then also, with some games, I like to sit and watch the whole game, especially if I think it's going to be, a tough battle between the two, and watch the two weigh it out and see how it goes, and watch every moment to see what's that pivotal moment that might have been the factor that changed things that I saw differently than what, some network wants to bring up to say, hey, check this out. Look at this play that just happened or something like that. What I mean? You're looking at those other little things, that we try and break down and analyze, Joe, that a lot of people don't even talk about, in defensive schemes.
Can I don't know if everybody else out there gets annoyed by this, but you know how they show replays and they'll show a highlight, a replay that just happened. This just happened. And then they show it and it's like, okay, cool. And you continue to watch the Red Zone. And then an hour later, they'll show the same exact highlight that happened an hour ago. Like, can we stop doing that? Like, stop showing me things that I've already seen.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you as well. Yeah, that one's pretty tough sometimes. All right, the games are just getting underway. We're going to wrap up pretty soon here. We got a couple more to go through. So hopefully nothing changes here during our analyzing it. But here we go. The Jags and the Pittsburgh Steelers. One thing I'd say about these things is I'm surprised about the Steelers even right now. They started off and kind of didn't look so hot, and now surprisingly enough, after even people talking about Mike Tomlin, not a great coach, maybe he should be on the hot seat. They're doing pretty well here at 4-2, steering the ship here. But now they face the Jaguars team. It looks like they've kind of figured things out too as well with Doug Peterson. Again, that team is kind of scary too, because that offense can get it going and they do their job, but it seems like they hit the switch off and turn it off like, yeah, we can just cruise now. No. Foot on the pedal, and this team, especially with this defense, is going to make them play throughout the whole game. But ultimately, I'm going to take even the Steelers on this one. The Steelers at home is tough to beat. Jags, I know, like I said, I just don't trust them right now with some of the issues that they do. And Trevor Lawrence still even fighting through an injury, still banged up. There's a lot of injuries here, even for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's going to be tough to face these guys, especially at home. But I got the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, in this game right here is two teams that we don't know what they actually are yet. They have better records than they play. A lot of their wins, it's not, by a deciding factor where they're like, oh, they definitely just beat that team up and took that game. It's a lot of close niche games to where at the end they win, and that's for both teams. The Steelers, just haven't found their way offensively. I mean, that's really kind of what it is. It's like we already know the Steelers defense is really good. TJ Watt and all, and Hayward looks like he started practicing. I don't know if he's playing in this game or not, but he's close to returning. And then you got then you got the Jaguars, where Trevor Lawrence in this offense looks like it's almost unstoppable one week, and then a couple of weeks they'll have like these like very low scoring games, can't really punch it in, struggling a little bit, and their defense has to kind of help them stay in the game. I don't know what team's going to win this game. It could go literally either way. I guess like because both teams not really sure, I'll go with the home team because the Steelers, at least they're home. It's a difficult place to play in, and maybe they do just enough to get the win.
All right.
But again, it goes back to not winning decisively. Like I don't think either team's going to win by a big margin.
Next up, lastly, here the games are just getting started right now. It's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Philadelphia, again, we noticed even when we looked at the stats here in our stat line that the key on offense was just Jalen Hurts and the turnovers at opportune times here, not getting it done that way has been the key matchup here. But it seems like moving forward they could do well, but against that Washington Commanders team, who's been kind of funny, they've been kind of up and down. They struggled a little bit last week with the New York Giants, and mainly their offensive line is just not playing very good and protecting Sam Howell. So it's all on him, and it makes it a lot harder for him and Eric Bieniemy to dial up something nice for him to get it going. But ultimately, too, this is going to be a tough team because it's a divisional round. They always play each other hard. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington could pull out the upset here. But despite that, even playing at home, I'm going to ride with the Eagles in this one. They just have a lot of weapons here, and I'm sure they're just righting the ship eventually,
Yeah, and that's the thing. That the Eagles are one of those important teams in this league that are very tough to play, but they haven't been playing, up to their caliber offensively. Like Jalen Hurts, I don't know if it's just him. I don't know if maybe it's the defensive coordinators got smarter. They have more tape on them, and they're starting to dial up different looks to where it's confusing them a little bit. And that's kind of where you might be seeing where the Eagles are kind of lacking offensively and scoring points. So it's not talent-wise. I mean, you look at that team from top to bottom. I mean, Jesus, the talent that they have at any given position is tremendous. So it's not that. So with Washington, it's interesting because this is a team that we know that they're growing, they're developing, they're trying to get back into contention, and it's going to happen slowly. Like we've seen, they need offensive line help still got to work on that, and then defense, they need some more pieces there. But this is a team that's slowly getting better under Ron Rivera, and they're at least competitive week in and week out. And when you have these division rivalries, we say it all the time, expect it to be a close and low-scoring game, and this, I think, is no different. Washington really competed hard against the Philadelphia Eagles last time they faced them, and it was a very low-scoring game. Eagles came out with the win there. I think they're going to come out with the win here, but I still expect it to be close. The other interesting thing about Washington is that trade deadline is right around the corner, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and they have put on the trade block as of today Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Both are pass rushers. So it looks like they're giving up on their contracts. They don't want to sign them to big long-term deals, and it looks like they want to just reinvest this coming draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be tough too. And imagine that even some of those two dudes being out there and somebody picked them up. That would be interesting to see. Next up, you
can never have enough.
Never have enough, baby. That's right. So next up, we got the 4:00 games here, 4:05. The Cleveland Browns and the Seattle Seahawks. Again, Deshaun Watson sitting out again. You got PJ Walker in here, but almost like even though if you look at Tyrod Taylor, Taylor and Daniel Jones, you can almost say the same thing. And if Mike Tackett was talking about, what affects the team more, is it Ryan Tannehill or even Daniel Jones? You could even add Deshaun Watson in that mix. And like, are they better with him or without him? With the way PJ Walker sometimes runs the ball here, even though Deshaun Watson is your starter and he was just starting to turn some things around for him.
Yeah, I would say Watson all day long would be the problem. That's your starter. That's a guy that still people got to, it's hard. We got to remind people over and over that Deshaun Watson isn't back to his old self just yet. And he's coming back like right now. Like you look at last season, like we talked about it on the show about how last season, even he was suspended for half the year, came back and had limited games the second half to really show what he could do. We saw a lot of rust there. He still got a knockoff. And then this year we saw better preseason performance, a little bit better during the regular season. And unfortunately he's banged up, so he's missing some time. But this is a guy that's still working his way back as a quarterback. And once he gets there, I'm telling you right now, and he will get there, he's going to be a huge factor for this team and to really catapult them to be a winning Browns team for them.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, looking at this game here with Cleveland and Seattle, and not having Deshaun Watson, I think that's a big deal here going into Seattle. Seattle has been doing pretty good, but again, Geno Smith looking like having struggling a little more than what he did last year. But again, once you have your best year of your season or your career, I mean, what are you going to expect after that? You've already hit your ceiling. So I mean, that's what everybody wants to criticize. So, but they're finding ways to grind it out and to get some of those tough wins. But at home, they're a lot harder to beat. But let me tell you, it's going to be tough because of this defense here in Cleveland. But Seattle at home, I'm going to take them.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not? I mean, they're very tough to play at home. They're pretty healthy now, and they got back Jamal Adams, and they got Witherspoon the last couple of weeks playing as a rookie, making big impacts. This defense has gotten a lot better. The offense, and that was really the issue early on this year, is Geno Smith was struggling. They couldn't quite figure out how to get points on the board, and then the last couple of weeks, it seems like Geno's starting to return back to what we saw him as of last year. Kenneth Walker III is going to be a problem this game. If Cleveland can't stop the run game for Seattle, that's going to be a big indicator on how this is going to swing. I got all the confidence in the world in Seattle. I like where they're trending. I like that they're getting back to where they were last season. I'm going to go with Seattle.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos here. Denver at home. We've already read the articles in the Adam Schefter report about the weather and things like that. So that's going to make this one nice and exciting here, and how frigid and snowy it could possibly be here for them. I hope it is. I like those types of games, Joe. I don't know about you. What did you guys think in the comments too? Let us know. You like this snowy type of cold climate games, if it's even low scoring. I mean, I think it's always fun to watch, because then you see how these guys how the elements really affect them and what they do to get, go through adversity, you know what I mean? And trying to make it through and who can come out on top dealing with the same amount of elements. You know what I'm saying? Because some will say, "Whoa, they didn't do well because it was rainy, it was wet." Like the other team, same thing. They got to change cleats too, get stuff that digs in the ground a little more too, so they're not slipping. Same issues. They're dealing with the same issues. You can't have any excuses in that one.
It brings it back. It brings it back to a more primal type of football where it's straight up man versus man. Are you stronger than me? Can you push me around? Are they going to be able to run the ball? Because that's really the big indicator on those really bad, element games, snow, torrential downpour, all that kind of things. It comes down to now it's how physical is your team? Can you outman our team to run the ball or execute some plays like that straight up? It almost ends up becoming more like rugby than football.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I mean, honestly, I love when we don't get these games a lot. They're kind of rare, but when they happen, it's just something about it. Very primal. It's very mano-y-mano, and who can get the better of who.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Nathaniel McWhort said he has the Chiefs. However, I started recording 6 other people's picks, and 3 people picked Denver in that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I know
Wow.
we always talk about things being tough, in the division. They end up being tighter games than expected, but still, for me, there's nothing out of Denver that has shown any signs that they're turning things around right now. In fact, it's proving more other points about the fact that Seattle was right when they talked about Russell Wilson wanting to change what role he wanted to have in the offense, and
Right.
while allowing him to leave. You know what I mean? You're
Yep.
seeing the same thing with butting heads with. Yeah, Pete Carroll's a different type of coach than what Sean Payton is, but still both in charge. Big personalities. But he wants to be a certain thing. Sean Payton, I think, trying to reel him in, and they're not agreeing, and not, it's affecting everything here for them. And that defense, since Vic Fangio hasn't been part of that a part of that franchise, has really kind of even stepped down a little bit here for them.
We talked about that, how that was going to be a factor coming in this year. Everyone didn't denied it and said, "Oh no, it's still going to be the same defense." No, it's not. Vic Fangio is one of the best defensive minds in football, and now he's with the Dolphins.
Right.
Of course, something's got to change.
Yeah, absolutely. But despite all that in the weather, I still see Patrick Mahomes and company. Too many weapons, too many things. It's just everything is just better.
And what let's go back to that conversation about being more primal, right? The Kansas City Chiefs, you look at that roster right now, their offensive line is very stout, very physical. And guess who else is even more physical? Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield. That guy is an animal. So I completely expect, Denver's going to try to stop the run and everything and whatnot, but the Chiefs got too much firepower, too much toughness and physicality, I think, for Denver. And they're a team that has fallen off. They've gotten rid of a couple of players and just flat out released them that were big time pieces for them. And then you also, like with you, Jim, when you brought up Vic Fangio, not having him design this defense in the manner it should be, they're continuing to struggle there. Offensively for Denver, also with Sean Payton and the rift that they have with Russell Wilson, he does not want him as his quarterback. He wants to move on from him if somehow after this year, wants a different guy in that position. So with all that disconnect, I don't think it's going to lead to hardly any wins at this point, and Kansas City all the way.
All right, quick score update. The Giants are leading the Jets 3-0. All tied up in a lot of other games. Cowboys lead the Rams 7-0. Falcons lead the Titans 3-0, and the Jags lead over the Steelers 3-0. That's your scores right now. So far, everything else is knotted up at 0. Next, we've got the Baltimore Ravens and the Arizona Cardinals here. It's Cardinals, we know what they are, but hey, Kyler Murray is in the game here. That could be interesting to watch, to see him running on one side and see, Lamar Jackson running on the other side. That could spice it up maybe here for the Arizona Cardinals. But despite,
is Kyler active today?
I that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure, and I was going to check.
I think they kept him out this week. I think it's going to be next week that he ends up playing.
Yeah, it would have been nice. That's what I'm saying. It would have been nice to see, but despite that, they're still even kind of playing better than I thought they were, because what you expected before, like tanking on the season. Baltimore really showed who they were here against the Lions here last week. But I think Lions just kind of took too much into Lamar Jackson to where they all were following him and left assignments open here on defense. So Lamar, I don't think they're going to be, they could still beat these guys pretty easily, handily here against, Arizona. So I think I'm just going to go to say the Baltimore Ravens on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens, they've been one of the more physical teams in this league as well. Defensively, they're getting healthier now, and it's showing every single week. They're literally punching people in the face every week defensively and slowing offenses down. I expect them to continue their physicalness this week, and even offensively for them. They're a little bit different on offense, but Lamar's still making the plays necessary to just put up points. So Baltimore, very tough to beat. Arizona, I agree with you, Jim. Like, they're much better than we anticipated, defensively and offensively. So I think they're still going to give Baltimore some issues early on in the game, but Baltimore definitely comes away with the win.
Absolutely. So here we go. Next, we got the Cincinnati Bengals and the San Francisco 49ers here, Joe. This is going to be a good one here at 425. This is, I think, one of probably the game of the week here. Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy. Brock Purdy makes it through the concussion protocol. And we said that was a key point for this matchup here, is for him to come back and be the man for them. Cincinnati still, I mean, despite now they're starting to win a little bit, still kind of rocky there. So when you see this offensive line of the Bengals face off against this defense here in the 49ers, it could get ugly kind of early, I think, even for Cincinnati.
I think the big part for this game is the trenches more than anything, is how well each offense is going to be able to protect their quarterback, create running lanes for the running back. And, the Bengals have a really good D-line. They're kind of underrated. They're not really talked about a lot, but man, they really bring it. So like the Niners defensive line, I think that's where it's going to, that's where the real indicator for this game is going to be, is who can protect who. But I like the fact that Brock Purdy is back. The 49ers, they have their weapons. They're very, very creative in their offense and how they get the ball to their tight end in George Kittle or even any one of the receivers. So I like the Niners in this one, hands down.
Absolutely. Nathaniel McWhort says he likes the Bengals in this one. Surprise, surprise. Everybody, again, once Brock Purdy lost a couple games, now they're jumping ship on this one. They're like, he's no good. So it's fun. It really is. It's we'll see though. I mean, if they do win, that's exciting. I'm hoping this matchup's going to be tight. All right, next we've got I wanted that one to hopefully they could flex it to the 8 o'clock. But I know they don't do that to the last remaining weeks of the season. So we got
it's too late. If they're gonna change the game, it's gonna be before even Saturday decide that. So unfortunately, they can't flex it now.
Yep. Nathaniel says he's expecting the Bengals or the Bears to upset the Chargers here in this one.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy. And what's funny here for me now this season, when I had always kept kind of clamoring, I guess it would be maybe at this point, for Brandon Staley to lose his job just because of the mistakes that he makes. I don't really blame him so much, I think, in some of this season, just because we've seen Justin Herbert not look like his normal self, making a lot of mistakes. If he connects on some of the balls that he's throwing and they're off target, he bails on plays early when he goes to scramble. He can go for the first down and he'll slide like 2 yards before. Go for it. You got to go all in to win the games, and you're not getting it done. So I think there's a different Justin Herbert this season. And maybe that injury to that finger is just messing with him mentally or something. I'm just not sure, but I think that's what's struggling here for the offense.
For the Chargers, I don't think that there's that much of a factor for Justin Herbert. I mean, the finger isn't even his throwing hand. Yeah, you're going to feel some pain here and there, because you're playing in a physical game. But we've seen other quarterbacks being able to play with less. So for Herbert, I don't think that's the issue. I think more or less it's just flat out execution. It's whether the receivers are not running as crisp routes. It's the protection up front, which is kind of surprising to me, is the protection for the Chargers has been lacking. And that was always seen for the last couple of years as one of their strengths. Like they have really good players there. I don't know what's going on up front. Like, are they misreading some of the stunts that are happening or something? Not being aware enough of the different rushes. But all in all, that's kind of what's really weird about this Chargers team, is they have the pieces in place, they have the defense in place, and neither side is performing. What's going on there in LA? We still don't know what the real issue is. And you can say what you want about the head coach and him going for it on 4th down, but if your offense and defense aren't executing, then it doesn't matter what he does. So until the Chargers kind of get this all figured out, maybe it's going to be this week. Hopefully we get to see some good football in this game. And that's why with Chicago, they've been one of the most struggling teams in the league. Not very well at executing, unless you're playing against the Raiders with your Division II quarterback, you actually can get it done. But that's the thing too, is like we thought maybe there's a chance Fields comes back this week, and that's not the case. He's not playing. Here comes Tyler Badgett, yet again, Division II quarterback. Can he make it happen again? We'll have to wait and see. But in LA, I like the Chargers better. They are just more equipped to get this win.
I hear you too as well. Score update: the Commanders take the lead 7-0 against the Eagles. Joe,
there you go.
Yeah, the Rams. Yep, the Rams get a field goal, so now it's 7-3 in that game, and that's it right now. The Falcons lead 3-0. So all the rest of the scores are all the same so far. That moves us on to finally Monday Night Football. We've got the Vegas Raiders, your Raiders, against the Detroit Lions. Lions really flat out embarrassed last week against the Ravens, but like I said, they just overdid it. They over-Lamar'd. They over-pursued, I think, on defense, and that kind of screwed them up, set the offense up to kind of try and force points, to try and get back in this game, and where Jared Goff had turnovers and things like that. Couldn't really do what they wanted. So I think here's a good team. Unfortunately, your team to kind of get the reset. You're going to be playing at home too, so you got the stadium rocking. And already you've already, I think, alluded to parts of the Vegas Raiders franchise and team kind of button heads and not on the same page right now, not right with the coaching staff, things like that. So I think that's going to be a big factor here for them.
When you have your owner calling your head coach an asshole, I mean, that could be an indicator. But other than that, you look it down at the field, there's a lot of disconnect between Josh McDaniels and whatever quarterback he has playing. Like, he's constantly arguing with them, constantly berating them, and doesn't take any of the issues that are going wrong. He doesn't. Doesn't take any blame. And as a coach, it's the first time I've ever seen this, where a coach literally takes no blame, says, "Oh no, it wasn't the play calling. Oh no, it wasn't this, it wasn't that." So what are you saying? It's your players? That already shows you that how far down some of the players are already disconnected from him. They've already decided, like, they're not playing hard for him anymore. He lost the locker room. And when you lose the locker room as a coach, you're done. Like, they're not playing hard for you anymore. So the Raiders are going to lay down. I feel like this is what's going to happen Monday night, is they're going to get embarrassed by Detroit, because Detroit is playing for something. Detroit is competitive, and they're just better right now. So they're going to come into Vegas. They're going to smack around the Raiders, and it's not going to be a close game at all. I think that's what's going to happen. The Detroit Lions are too good. They have Aiden Hutchinson by himself. It's like having Mad Max over there, but Aiden Hutchinson is going to wreak havoc in the backfield. And don't forget, it's not just Aiden. I know everyone wants to key on him, but the rest of this D-line for Detroit is really good, like really good. So this offensive line for the Raiders is going to really struggle against them to have protection for Jimmy G. And Josh Jacobs, I don't think, is going to be able to run the ball very well. I think it's going to make them one-dimensional, and they're going to continue to struggle. I love Jared Goff now. He's starting to kind of really come into form this season with this offense, putting points on the board, doing what's necessary. And I love the rookie Gibbs. He's actually starting to come up as more of a factor in the offense as well. So this game, it's so easy to pick. I mean, if you don't pick Detroit, you're freaking losing your mind.
Mm-hmm. All right. Absolutely. So there it is. There's all the previews, the setups, the games are going right now. So definitely you guys, enjoy the games, some of them should be really good. I mean,
if you're new to the show, like, we do a show every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Tune in, head over to YouTube. Football on the No Show is the name of our show. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. You can also follow us and take us around anywhere you get your podcasts as well. Have a good time Sunday football. Enjoy the games, and we will see you Wednesday night.